Hi AGP students, and welcome to the leadership course lesson number 4. This is intentional purposeful relationships. So today we're going to be discussing more about kind of how to go to effectively develop mentorships and relationships and such, things in which you can have to really further advance your academics and enrich your extracurricular opportunities and such. So today's lesson we're kind of going through a few things and just helping you along with that and giving you some additional advice for those sorts of things. One is kind of mentorship, and basically, pretty much everyone knows what a mentor is. Someone who's kind of there to help them, support them, give them advice and guidance in a sense. Usually, the individual has kind of been through what they been through before, can quite easily identify the sort of situations and experiences in which they're having to go through as well and such. So, so mentorship, in a sense, is basically those sort of things in a nutshell. So let's talk about some possible mentors here that you may have. I don't know, you could probably look at these three and say, you know what, these are very bad, poor representatives of mentors in a sense. Justin Bieber and Amanda Bynes and Lindsay Lohan, all of them have kind of been in trouble with the law. All of them have kind of been individuals who've maybe been using illicit drugs in a sense and things of that nature. But you know what, they probably can have some words of advice, and maybe looking back on their lives in a bit, maybe they have reflected on it a bit and understand that they've done some things wrong and such. So, but better served though to mentors and people you'd probably be thinking of would be maybe your coach, maybe one of your teachers, maybe a parent of a friend or something of that nature, maybe someone of a spiritual leader or something, or maybe other organizational professionals. But all of these individuals in which you could use and look at, and whoever a number of other realm of possibilities could serve as a mentor. So, just anybody and anyone who willing to kind of sit down with you and share some wisdom with you and such could serve as a mentor to you. But I thought this was a fun representation of some examples that you wouldn't traditionally think of as a mentor for you. Whoa, so alright, let's go through here and in feedback loop. And I've probably talked about this with a few of you before. A feedback loop. And I've always thought one of the biggest things in which I kind of bring to my students' attention and such. So feedback loop, you go through you're doing something, some maybe certain behavior, action, what you're doing. I'm going to use the example of a tennis player, since I played tennis in college for a couple of years and everything. And if I was this guy's mentor, or aka coach in some ways, I'd really be saying, hey, you're hitting off your back foot, look how your chest and your legs are all open stance and everything, look how much wrist in which you're using within the shot itself. You can see the evidence of that in the second photo and everything. And and there'd be some guidance in which I'd probably say, you need to kind of maybe lead a little bit more with your left foot, kind of put a little more of your shifting your weight to your back rear foot and everything. Maybe close your shoulders a little bit, try to lead through them a little bit more. And so those sort of things in which, I would probably say to this individual. So that individual is doing that. Now he's getting the guidance in which I just spoke about in a sense. He's getting the instruction, he's getting, the mentoring in a sense, and he's trying to learn from someone else who's much more polished of an individual from them about how to go about doing this in a sense. So, now that he's been through it, he's had his guidance and everything, now he's evaluating his guidance. He's like, he's got the towel over his head, he's thinking, he's contemplating, what should I be doing in a sense, trying to remember back to the sort of steps in which were given to him, and how do I go about doing that. He's probably mentally envisioning, what the shot should look like, what he should be doing in a sense. And after he's had that, now he's going back and he's implementing this new behavior thing. So, as you can see, he's got his left hand out in front. You can see where the weight and such is kind of a little bit more back, shifting from his rear foot now to his front foot a little bit and such. His clothes and shoulders a little bit more, everything's a little bit more closed off in a sense. It really allows him to use more of his body weight and drive through the ball, setting up for it. He's much more prepared for it. So, but you may be asking, why are you doing a feedback loop? Why should I have one? Well, the idea behind a feedback loop is that you have some information that's continually coming in to help you to refine things. And by doing so, the quicker and the more in which you can accelerate the behavior and how you end up refining it and becoming more proficient with it. So if you're not getting this information, you're not getting this sort of coaching in a sense, and then you're going to continue to go along and doing the same things over and over again, because most likely you don't understand as to what you're doing wrong. You don't see what you're doing that's being done wrong. And by having someone from the outside who has a more objective viewpoint to things can certainly help you in doing that and give you the coaching in a sense to help you make those changes. So what are some benefits in and how to cultivate a mentorship? Benefits of it, support. You've got someone who's, your cheerleader, you got someone who's in your corner and everything, who's there to continually give you some good advice in a sense. Someone who's buying into the sort of activities in which you're doing it, and like I said, and giving you the additional support that you need to go through the ups and the downs of things. Also, wisdom. As I said before, they have more knowledge, they have more experience, they understand what you've been through, whether you want to probably believe it or not. It may not be the exact same scenario, but there's a good likelihood that they can identify to the situation as such, and then maybe from looking back at their own experiences, able to give you additional insight to, hey, this is what I would have done, or maybe you should look about this, or maybe you should ask these questions and such. And then also opportunities in a sense. Being able to find someone who has ideas, connections to things, and can give you involved in certain things, and just by asking them, saying, what do you think would be a good fit for me and such? What do you think would be helpful to me? And doing those things, never know what you can get involved with. When I was in my position at Texas A&M for the longest time, it's like, why was always the same, 5, 6, 7, 8 students helping along and doing the sorts of things? Well, they're the ones that were coming around and getting the advice. And when I think of like, oh, you know what, I need a student leader, or I need a peer leader, or I need someone to go to Madrid with me to help, go along with these freshman students or something. And it seems like it was always the same sort of group year in, year out in a sense, because they identified with us, they came around to us, they were eager to help and to learn things and such. So keep that in mind, and because of having those connections, there are going to be opportunities and doors opened up for you. Meet regularly with them. By doing so, it shows that you're concerned and that you really do value their advice. Learn their background, understand where they came from, understand what maybe their education was, where was their hometown, how did they arrive to this situation and to this point in their life. Have questions for them. Anytime in which you go and that you see them, have questions. Make them feel that their input is valued in a sense, and that you really do appreciate that. So as I said, the last point, thank them for their input. By showing that it means a great deal, and that you just really, more than anything, enjoy the sort of time in which they've taken to kind of answer any questions and to spend with you and such. So the other thing is using strengths and such. You know what your strengths are. You should have or at least have a really good firm understanding of them now, kind of being able to identify what they are and such. So when you're working and seeing with these others, those that you believe that have similar strengths, now they haven't taken the strengths test, so they won't have them on the wall like you do or anything like that, but you should probably be able to identify some behaviors in a way that are similar to yours, and you can identify with and understand that, oh yeah, they probably do have a strength similar to mine or something of that nature. So understand how they utilize their strengths in a sense. The certain tasks in which they're doing and things, like how do they go about doing them? How do they approach them? What sort of things are they doing to kind of help them to execute those tasks? And if you know someone's completely opposing strengths, so think about it in a certain sense of your personality, are they very different from you, then how do they respond differently to other things? Certain situations, or certain, when you come to them, something that you would think obviously much different from the way in which you would go about it. Say, well, and then understand that. So that's what you see, and how they compliment you. So if you say opposite attract and everything in that nature. And then by this, they're probably going to challenge you. They're going to give you pause. They're going to give you reason to think about it. They're going to say, as I mentioned, oh, this is how I would do it. But then, they would do something much differently. Hopefully, that does give you reason to sit there and say, well, maybe I should consider doing it like that, or maybe, maybe I don't necessarily take all a part of the idea of it and such, but maybe I take parts of it and use it and things. So, and that's the thing too, is like, as you're going through and you're collecting all this information, the idea by having these mentors and feedback loops is that you're getting information from various sources in a sense. And it's not going to say that you're going to follow it all verbatim in a way. You're going to, whatever they do, you're going to do straight down to the last minute detail in a sense. But hopefully, as you get this information, you can evaluate what you've received, understand what, I think this part's really going to work best for me, and this part's really going to help me in a sense. And you kind of take all that and combine it in a way, and that really allows you to be the most effective for who you are as an individual, and being able to get the most out of any sort of task or responsibility that you're having to do. Lastly, if you don't know their strengths, ask them, what kind of tasks do you really try to look out to do? What sort of, how do you prefer to engage others? Are you someone who likes to sit back and be a little more hesitant? Or are you someone who's along the scale of things like, oh, you know what, my name's Rob Jensen, and you can talk to a tree or something like that. Just those sort of things, and that can kind of help you better understand where they fall along the spectrum of things, of how they choose to really engage individuals. Are they more reserved, are they more outgoing, or in between and such. And then I like this, although this doesn't really have anything to do with strengths over here, this major college milestones for your career path. And even though none of you are in college yet, some of you still got a little ways to go, but I just thought it was funny. It's like, 1, go to college; 2, get an internship; 3, earn your degree; 4, find a job and start your career. And the thing that's missing is find a mentor. I can't say it enough. In the programs in which I used to run and was the coordinators for, it's like the students, it seems like they were the ones that were really open and receptive to talking to others and advisors and things. The ones that I saw that always excelled the most. They were the ones that were eager to come in, would come in at the times, even when they weren't scheduled, or drop by on their own or something of that nature. They were always the ones that were doing very, very well in a sense with their academics, extracurriculars, on their pathway and getting internships or jobs and things, med school, dental school, law school, whatever it may be in a sense. You could always tell that those students were very well prepared and were going places. So today, I really tried to work on cutting the lecture time down, and I believe that I had done so. And as always, I like to finish it off with a quote, something inspirational in a sense. And today's quote is: "The only true wisdom to know that you know nothing." So, and I think this speaks a lot today to the lesson in a sense about finding, intentional in relationships that are quite purposeful in a sense, seeking things out that are going to help to advance you even further in your high school career, and also in your college preparation in a sense, and to understand that there's a lot of information in which that you don't know, and even for myself. That something in which I'm continuously doing is talking to others, people who are more experienced in what I do, going to conferences and such, trying to better understand other things, how people are doing other things, and trying to bring back constantly ideas that can help to further develop myself and my business and anything else, my personal relationships, anything and everything in a sense. Always seeking out information, whether it's from personal individuals or from other sources and such, in a way to get better as a person. And I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to kind of utilize those things, and utilize those people that are surrounded you, that you can help make you a better individual. So, thank you. And looking forward to the next class in which we are moving into the second phase of things, where we're now starting to manage yourself as an individual, and looking out to other sources outside of yourself to help to improve you as a person. So thank you very much, and have a good day.